Sherisse and Debjit, and I'm going to steal it from my friend. We are here for the weird, my friends. Strap yourselves in. We're going to have some fun. We are talking all things esoteric, all things paranormal, all the weird shit that has happened in your lives, our lives, and in the lives to come. Let's chat, okay? In this episode, we are going to talk about timeline shifting. This is something that I've had a lot of experience with. Debjit, I think you've maybe kind of tested the waters a little bit on this one.
Not too much. Yeah.
Let's talk about it because it's an interesting topic. Hey, right?
Fantastic, Sherisse. Thanks for introducing our topic today. It's because I remember that the last time we had a chat about your experience with timelines, and shifts and everything, I was so excited. I really wanted to have a proper episode where we really, talk in detail about it. So let's get started. So the first thing I'd like to ask you, it's because you are the one here who have had so many timeline shift experiences. First thing I want to ask you is this: how do you describe this timeline shift experience? What is the definition of it so that the audience get an idea, like what are we talking about?
For myself, it is generally a being out of time. So you're missing time. In some cases, I am missing from the actual world for a period of time and then come back into what I hope is the same timeline, but maybe isn't. And people are like, where were you? You were missing. And then sometimes it feels for some people more like they're just kind of shifting into something that feels more in alignment with who they actually are.
Wow.
It can be done in real time, or sometimes it can be done like, if you're meditating, you can timeline shift into a new timeline that's more optimal for who you want to be. You can do that. But sometimes timeline shifting just kind of happens and you don't know how or why.
That's
experience, definitely.
that is such a cool way that you described it, that the dual aspect of the timeline shift that you just mentioned. I think I have some experiences on my own on the second arena, not a lot, but some. But I guess you are the one who have experiences on the first part, right? Would you like to tell that one experience that you told me about when you were really young, when it first time happened?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the first timeline shift that I ever experienced because it's a weird one. And it's one that maybe people, hopefully others have experienced this too. I have never heard of anybody else really experiencing this except for like in the book Outlanders, which is not, not real, but it's very similar to what I've had.
Right.
So what it was I was 15 and we were at I and a girlfriend and another girlfriend and the third girlfriend's parents were all at an event. And we had taken we were in Calgary, the C train, the train into downtown to go to this event. And the one girlfriend and I were really bored. The event was over. We were standing around doing nothing. We're like, can we take the train now? And we'll meet you at the station. You just take the next train, because their parents were yammering to somebody. Can we just you guys take the next train and we'll meet you at the station and the world will be a good place. They were like, sure, whatever. We were 15, 16. They're like, yeah, you guys are fine. So we took the train and we get to the station. And we're kind of hanging out. We're, watching people and doing whatever. And it was much more interesting than sitting at the venue.
Right.
The next train comes and they weren't on it. And we thought, okay, that's weird. And nobody was really paying a lot of attention to us, which is unusual in itself when you're teenage girls and you're, feeling your oats and whatever. And then the next train came. And nobody on it. And then the third train came and nobody was on. And by then we were started to worry because we didn't actually have any money. not even like money to make a phone call to say, hey, we seem to be stuck at a train station. We were like, did we get off on the wrong train station? No, this was where they parked the car. This was the one they said they were going to meet us at. So, we were an hour past and we started to really worry a little bit, right? And we were, kind of pacing and wondering what the heck was going on. And we couldn't quite figure it out. Like, they should have come past us. There's only one way in and out of the train station. They would have had to walk past us. And then about 20 minutes after we started to really get panicky, my dad comes racing into the station from the outside, right? And he's livid with us. He was not the person who was supposed to be coming. He's livid with us. He's like, where have you guys been? You've been missing this whole time. You were supposed to come right to this station and stay right here and blah, blah, blah. And we were like, but we've been here this whole time and they haven't come past us. How did you know that we were here? How did you know that we were starting to panic a little bit? And nobody else wanted to hear our side of the story, that we had been sitting there for, at that point, almost 90 minutes waiting for the Clarks to show up.
This is great.
And they had not shown up. And we got out to the parking lot and they were sitting out there. They were furious. My dad was furious. Her parents were furious. Everybody was angry. And the two of us had a conversation afterwards, like, it was weird, wasn't it? It felt weird. That whole 90-minute period, it was like we were invisible. And, we were waiting for people to come past us. And it wasn't until, and I come from a family of people who are very psychically aware and very open to things and can see through the veil fairly easily. So I think that's the reason that my dad was able to see us and pull us out of whatever bardo we were in. I wonder sometimes if we wouldn't have been missing forever, sitting in that train station or wandering around the world, wondering what the heck happened to us if he hadn't have shown up and pulled us out. It was very, very surreal. Wow. And then when that happens, you always wonder, when I did that and I came back, did I come back to the same place? Or did I come back to something that was slightly different? Did I come back to a different timeline than I was originally in? Is that why I had that period of time that was missing, or time that I was missing from people, right? So weird. And I've had it happen a few times since. And most people, when they have this experience, they're not able to drag someone else with them. And I just dragged Michelle with me.
You had your sister. Yeah.
Nothing. Like, it was nothing. Like, I wasn't even aware of doing it. So it was very, very disturbing. I think part of it was that we were both fairly intuitive and kind of had that level of psychic awareness of ourselves, even back in the 80s, right? Had that level of psychic awareness of ourselves. And so we were able to kind of do that together. Whereas if maybe she had not been as psychically aware or as in tune with things, maybe I would not have been able to pull her into whatever the hell it was. Maybe she pulled me, I don't know. But one or the other kind of pulled it in, and it became this weird alternate reality.
Fantastic. I mean, that period where it was always happening, the middle of the thing, where let's say you were traveling to an alternate reality, where you were at the station. How did that period feel? Was that period somehow a little different in any sense, weird vibration, anything that would differentiate from any other experience?
The only thing that was weird and different about it is that it really did feel like we were invisible. that, and it's hard to describe that. We were still solid. We still, you know, if we banged ourselves, we would have been flesh and blood, but it was like people didn't see us.
Wow.
People
Really?
people would ignore us or walk through us. And so it was very surreal, but it didn't feel like that particularly at the time. We just kind of were like, okay, this is kind of weird. And then it got weirder, and then it got weirder. And by the time my dad showed up, we were pretty much like in full on panic.
I get it.
In full on panic mode, like, okay, what are we going to do here? we were pretty much to the point where we were going to be walking to where we were trying to figure out if her place or my place was closer and whose we were going to.
My God, that is some experience. I mean, how old were you guys back then?
We were 15.
And it was happening in which year?
That would have been 86.
86. Wow. Now, you also mentioned...
Here. Never ask a lady her age.
I know. We are talking about timelines. Dates matter here, I guess.
I know, they totally do. Yes. So yeah, it was
yeah.
winter of 86, and it was just surreal. Surreal is the only way to describe it. It felt like being invisible and yet not being invisible at the same time. We were in our corporal forms, in our bodies, but we were not in time. And that is a very disturbing thing to recognize. Time was still passing for us the same as it was for people on the outside, but somehow things had shifted to the point where there was a difference.
Oh, wow. That's so exotic. I mean, I love it. The story, actually, you know. Wow. Now, your sister was there the whole time. So you have your sister as a...
It wasn't my sister. It was just a friend of mine.
Oh, your friend. So she still, you guys are still in communication. Do you still talk about that thing?
No, we don't. We stopped hanging out together about 2 or 3 years later. But we did talk about that a couple times afterwards. Like, that was really weird, wasn't it? Do you remember that time? Do you remember the time at the C train station?
Wow. So
if I said something to her, if I found her and said something to her today, she would probably be like, that was weird, man. That was the surreal experience of my life.
Oh my God. That's so interesting. Now, you mentioned that I have so many questions right now that I don't know where to start. But the main thing that is coming to me is that you mentioned that your family had a lot of people who were intuitive and psychics, you know?
Yeah.
Can you give a little background about it? I would like to know.
Gosh, where to even start? Both of my parents are very intuitive and very open to paranormal, psychic experiences. Some of my earliest memories with my mother are actually farting around with a Ouija board. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're both able to see spirits and ghosts. They kind of just know certain things without knowing why they know it. They wouldn't necessarily say that they are psychic, but by all definitions of psychic ability, they are both very, very psychic, which makes it interesting to grow up in that household because you can't lie to each other when you're all psychics.
Yeah.
You're all really intuitive like that. You just can't. There's no way to do that. And you also, there is some downsides. I mean, you can all feed off of each other when you're in a state
negative
that has negative energies or an entity in it. You can absolutely all kind of feed off of that energy. Make it much worse than it needs to be. But for the most part, it's been kind of an interesting experience because, you know, we've all in my family seen spirits. We have communicated with beings. We have these weird timeline-y things happen to us. We remember past lives. we have a lot of different and unique experiences that
Wow.
other people would not understand. Let's just put it that way.
Of course.
Families like us, then there are not. I really do believe that most people have this experience, just most people shut it off, or they think that they must be crazy, or they think that they were wrong. They
Right.
rationalize it away. Whereas in my family, that was never the case. It was never,
Wow.
that couldn't have possibly have happened. It's always like, oh yeah, that happened. That really happened.
Yeah, like I am. Yeah. Okay. You know what? I think, as you mentioned about past lives and your family being, so intuitive and psychics, I would like to introduce our audience as like the kind of work you're doing right now with past life regression, and how you have been helping people, because people have seen us from the last episode, and probably they're thinking like, who is this lady and why is she talking about all this intuitive stuff, and she has so much experience on it. Would you like to share about your work with past life regression?
So and in fact, we'll probably do a future episode about my past life experience.
Love to. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun, and maybe we'll tease you a little bit too. So I do past life regression therapy, and it is specifically to deal with. I like dealing with this life traumas and kind of helping people get past whatever it is that's holding them back in this life, so that they can create the future that they want without being beholden, not just to the past in this life, but to that cycle of trauma, life after life after life. What tends to happen is you'll have a big trauma in this life, but in the past life, maybe you were the trauma inducer, or maybe you and this person keep playing this game over and over and over again, where you get hurt and they're the abuser over and over again, because you made some kind of karmic deal to do that.
Right.
So one or the other of you figures out what it is you need to learn. And so simply by just that little kernel of making the decision and doing the work and looking back at your past lives, and going into the higher mind and into the lives between lives and talking to your spirit guides and your superconscious, you're able to release yourself from those contracts and release yourself from that need to do that stuff over and over again, and kind of move into, I just get to have fun in the next life, in the rest of this life. Even I just get to have fun.
This is so exciting. I can actually relate, because some of the integrations that have been happening to me kind of opened me up about this whole ancestral, bonded sort of thing, which keeps repeating in forms of pattern. This is so exciting. Wow.
There's another piece to this as well, because ancestral trauma does live in our genes for up to, I think it's 40 generations. 40 generations of trauma that we are carrying around in our genes.
That's quite a lot of trauma too.
On both sides. Now, what are the odds that in 40 generations on both sides of the family, you do not have trauma? Pretty low.
You know what? I'd like to crack a joke here. I remember you being pan-European genetically. Not only you're carrying trauma from both sides, but you're carrying a whole lot of diverse trauma because of your pan-European genetics,
Absolutely. Because it's not just the trauma that those people experienced, it's the trauma that those people maybe perpetuated.
Wow.
So, because the perpetuator of the trauma is also inflicting trauma on their soul, because they're doing things that they know they shouldn't be doing. And it doesn't even matter if it's trauma to humans or trauma to animals. And back for hundreds of years, people weren't always very kind to their animals.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. A whole lot of things left unintegrated, which one gets a chance to integrate with you. Wow. How do people connect with you, Sherisse, if they want to, work with you and, discuss about their stuff, if they can be healed?
they should go to tranquilitysoulspa.com. That's my website. And it is where they can learn all about working with me in a coaching setting or in past life regression setting. And as well, I have a membership program that is kind of like a longer term care, aftercare.
Fantastic. Fantastic. We'll have a link of your site in the description of the video for people to check.
Yeah.
Okay, now coming to our topic again back. Now, I also remember you sharing one exciting episode about a product which the name of the product changed when you traveled to the alternative reality. I remember
So
peanut butter. Was it a peanut butter? I think
it was. Okay.
Yeah.
This could be a whole episode all by itself, and maybe we will talk about this.
We will.
But that is the Mandela Effect. When you are timeline jumping, you will find that the Mandela Effect is really in play. Because what happens is when you switch from one timeline to another, things are slightly different and you don't really understand how or why they're different. Things that you remember from your past, the people in your life don't remember exactly the same. And that's not because they just have shitty memories. That's because it's quite possible that things played out differently in the timeline you're actually in right now, which is mind-blowing when you realize.
And it happened to you.
I've had that happen a few times, yeah. The one that I remember the most is in 1993, I went to Europe with my now ex-husband. And so we went to Europe, and when we got home, 2 days after I got home, I was over at my parents' place, and I said something about Jiffy peanut butter. And my mom was like, Jiffy peanut butter? What the heck is Jiffy peanut butter? And I was like, it's the name of the peanut butter. It's the American brand that we don't get here in Canada.
Yeah.
We have, Kraft, and we have Skippy, and we have some of the other ones, but we don't have Jiffy peanut butter. And she's like, there's no Jiffy peanut butter. It's Jif peanut butter. Well, I had just spent the last 24 years of my life knowing it as Jiffy peanut butter. So I was very, very confused by the whole change. It took me a few years to process the fact that obviously somehow, some way during that time away in Europe, I had managed to switch timelines. And in this timeline, things were not the way that they were in the previous timeline that I remembered. After that, I noticed that there were other family memories that I had that were different from the memories that other people had. Things that had happened to me in my past life had not happened to me in the past that other people were remembering, which kind of threw me for a loop. But that is one of the symptoms of timeline shifting is you remember a different past than everybody else does, because in their past, those things didn't happen. And that is really trippy, really trippy. So you're remembering things, and you're maybe even trying to reminisce with someone, and they're like, you're crazy, girl, that never happened. You must have had a dream. That must be in a dream that you had that happened. No, because I remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And how do you handle a situation like this then?
Well, really, honestly, the best way to handle it is when you start to realize that you are living in an alternate timeline. Don't bring things up from your past because you'll probably get proven wrong. Wait for other people to bring them up. And then when they've brought them up, simply smile and nod.
Yeah, yeah, I remember you told me that you used to do that. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. So if they mention it, I will,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember it the same way, I will add on, but I try very hard not to bring up memories,
Mm-hmm.
except for with a couple of people who know that I've timeline jumped a few times. And then I'll be like,
Yeah.
so I remember this. Did it actually happen in this world?
Wow.
Who knows, right?
Wow.
Sometimes I get a yes,
That
sometimes I get a no. And when I get a no, I just file that away and try to remember not to talk about that memory ever
this
again.
is so amazing. My God. The more I talk about it, it seems that more we have to talk about the whole timeline shit. And I think just for this episode of Timelines, we might need some other episodes. I think we have blown our audience mind again this
I
time.
know, I know.
Right, right. We had such an amazing time though.
Awesome.
Okay, okay. So, how do we wrap this up? What do you have to say for our next episode? Do you want to introduce our audience?
Well, our next episode, we are going, what are we going to talk about in our next episode? We did talk about this, but it's gone from my mind now because I'm so busy talking
Oh,
about.
don't tell me you time jumped again in the
I
middle of the conversation.
So
Yeah, yeah.
we're going to have some fun next episode. We're going to talk about another weird little topic.
Fantastic. It's becoming really interesting. So, yeah, we'll see
Yeah.
you guys again in the next
Okay.
episode.